Okay. We will now continue with our land use items for today. I would like to welcome Housing Authority Tenant Commissioner Bianca Berry. Thank you for being here. We now proceed with non-agenda public communication as an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within our jurisdiction, but not on our meeting agenda. We may only refer the item to the CAO. Under the board's rules, speakers can speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication, either today or yesterday, but not at both sessions. And you can select which at your convenience. To better facilitate the meeting, we will have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers by phone for non-agenda public communication, and then the rest will be heard at the close of the session. Additionally, in accordance with board rules, for any discussion item with 10 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion. According to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time. And a final reminder, according to the board's rules, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything that disrupts the proceedings. If you disrupt the meeting, you will be given 1 warning, and after that 1 warning, if you disrupt the meeting again, you will be directed to leave the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Ryan, can you please call the speakers? Thank
you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. 4 individuals in person and 5 requesting to speak via phone. For those that requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using those instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. If you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record, and like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Perita Javier.
Welcome back, you guys. Good thing you're on time. My person uses the name Audra, so it's so interesting how much money gets spent to adopt children out who have been taken by people like Kimberly and her, agency that are, manufacturing cases, lying on reports, doing whatever is necessary to then 15 months later adopt these children out. And it's a cash for kids type of industry, and you know that because, look at the Title E funding. Billions of dollars is spent to facilitate the adoption of these children, while, for Title B funding, it's about a fraction of that, just under $1 billion. So there's more money spent to actually rip a family apart and send these children to people they don't even know. And there's continued problems with the welfare of children that are being taken from their parents in San Diego. Forced, to basically have their children sent out of the country against their will and their wishes for their trafficking these children. But the good news is that more and more parents are coming forward because they are understanding that they're not alone and that they don't have to fight this battle alone and feel like they're alienated, just like the agency and the courts and all of the attorneys want to make these people feel. That's why they retaliate if they speak up against it. But it's good that more and more coming forward so this can be exposed, so people can be reunited with their children, which is what they deserve. They don't deserve to be tormented like this and to have their children grow up never knowing who they are. And so I would like to encourage the people in San Diego and anybody watching this to reach out to my tip line at 619-678-1442. We will expose the perpetrators that have taken your children, and you can join our fight to get your kids back.
I am Perita Javier, victim of toxic gases. Here is latest doctor's findings. To whom it may concern, my patient Perita requests my documentation in regards to how her surrounding environment affect her health. She continues to have significant anxiety in regards to the possible health effects related to air quality around her home. Her Neighbors have a kiln, the use of which may have contributed to adverse symptoms and if to her health physically then psychologically, scoring for depression via the PHQ. Thus 9 questionnaire is 16, which is moderately severe, scoring for anxiety by the GAD-7. Questionnaire is 16 in the moderate anxiety range. She lives in fear in her own home and avoid being outside. This anxiety has contributed to increased forgetfulness or elevated blood pressure. Appreciate your review, and please take this into consideration with your decisions regarding matter.
Thank you.
Cesar Javier, a victim of these toxic gases next door. The owner renewed his business tax permit for year 2025. We reached out IPA Federal, and they explained that this has been shared with our air enforcement manager, who will likely coordinate with the local air quality control board, which is the Air Pollution Control Board. And up to now, this was since 2023, July 11. We also reached out IPA Sacramento and advised us to Mr. Javier, you plant trees along the common property line and procure a huge electric plant and point it towards the downwind from the direction of the kiln emission. We didn't stop. And last meeting at Sandag, I reached up Sir Anderson, and please, sir, help us. This is a countywide issue because there are 40 artists region-wide, members of the Pottery Guild based in Balboa Park, Spanish Village. We have been reaching Air Pollution Control District as this is the jurisdiction as far as its accountability is concerned, and they have done nothing. Ma'am Porbis says, oh, this is a nuisance case, period. The compliance says, oh, we went there and we didn't smell anything. This is a science base, and they have to replicate what the research and investigation did. We don't believe this Air Pollution Control District is doing their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Call our final in-person speaker, Sharak Sadat.
Hello. Hello. My name is Sharak Sadat Nejad. I live at 3713 Mount Ashman Place, San Diego, California, 92111. In 2021, my father's spouse died in that house. In 2023, my father died in that house. Some months ago, I pulled back the carpet of the house, about 15 square feet of it, and realized that the slab foundation of the house does not have a sealer, and I believe that's what contributed to their deaths. I went to the city permit office and got a copy of the building permit and of who built the house. It's a company by the name of Harry L. Summers Incorporated. I went to the address that he had provided on the building permit. It's 4430 Cass Street, San Diego, California, 92109. When I went to that address, I discovered that there is no building there. I went to the tax collector of the county for property tax, and I asked them if there's a history on collecting tax for this property, and they have no history of it. The assessor's office confirmed that there is no APN number associated with the address. In 1974 is when my house was built, and in 1974, Mr. Harry L. Summers did a publishing selling 232 homes for sale. He didn't provide a phone number for his contact information. He provided an address for people to write to him, and that address is the address that doesn't exist, at 4430 Cass Street. I believe that the houses, many houses were not meant for general public to purchase, that this may be some very covert military operation.
Thank you, sir. Your time's up.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and hear from those that have requested to speak via phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Madison, and I'm here today to remind you of the Fallbrook Community Planning Group, whose members unanimously supported a clear position. Quote, "We endorse Alternative 1, the no project alternative." Their chair, Eileen Delaney, stated, "We do not want any cannabis program. We want no project." The community's concerns are serious, and they are rooted in evidence and experience. The draft environmental impact report is based on outdated and insufficient information. It fails to incorporate recent data and findings from municipalities that have already implemented cannabis programs. Those newer studies raise significant red flags, particularly around cultivation and temporary events. One major concern is odor pollution. Santa Barbara County, with fewer than 150,000 residents, has received more than 4,000 unresolved odor complaints related to cannabis cultivation. San Diego's unincorporated areas have over 500,000 residents. We have every reason to expect a much larger and more disruptive impact. Another concern is enforcement. The draft plan proposes adding just 2 new code compliance officers. That is clearly inadequate to handle the range of issues cannabis activities raise: odor, theft, noise, water use, and overall community safety. Please take these concerns seriously. Take the time to reevaluate the data, expand your review of recent findings, and reconsider the scale and scope of the draft EIR before moving forward with any part of this program. The Fallbrook Community Planning Group strongly supports no project. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Megan Stewart, and I'm here today as a concerned public health and youth advocate to encourage you to carefully consider the growing harms associated with marijuana businesses and their permitting, especially as it relates to land use decisions in our communities. As marijuana businesses, dispensaries, cultivation sites, and now consumption lounges are permitted across the county, we are seeing an increasing normalization of marijuana use. This trend is especially concerning for those of us working to protect youth. Just like big tobacco once did, today's marijuana industry uses bright packaging, sweet flavors, and products that look like harmless candy to attract the next generation of users. These businesses are not just operating quietly, they are reshaping the character and safety of our neighborhoods. Despite industry marketing, marijuana is not a risk-free product. As mentioned yesterday, a recent federally funded study found that even healthy adults who use marijuana, whether smoked or consumed, exhibit early markers of cardiovascular disease, and edibles, which are often assumed to be safer, were shown to impair vascular function more than smoking tobacco would. The more marijuana businesses we allow, whether in commercial corridors or near schools, parks, and family-centered areas, the more normalized and accessible these products become to use. We have an opportunity and a responsibility to protect our land, neighborhoods, and youth. Please consider the full range of all health and safety impacts. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
My name is Becky Raff. I'm a public health educator focused on youth drug prevention. Yesterday, this board spent valuable time discussing the mental health crisis impacting our community, especially among youth. I appreciate the attention you are giving to this issue, but I want to reiterate the glaring connection mental health has with marijuana consumption. We're seeing increased cases of marijuana-induced psychosis, addiction, and accidental ingestion in young children. These are not isolated incidents. They're showing up in our local emergency rooms, schools, and homes. And yet this issue remains under-discussed in your mental health strategies and policies. I strongly urge this board to request a formal presentation from local healthcare leaders, especially ER physicians and pediatric experts from Rady Children's Hospital, like Dr. Natalie Lobb and Dr. Ronit Lev, who are treating these cases and can provide firsthand data. The board must take the National Institute of Health Research seriously. If you support NIH funding, then you must also support the evidence it produces, including findings that link marijuana use to serious mental health complications in youth. We can't pick and choose which science we want to believe based on convenience or politics. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hey there, it's Truth. Yet another kink has been discovered in the BOS sign-up system. Yesterday, after I signed up to speak, I later tried to add on one more item to speak to, and it kicked me out of non-agenda. So I was disenfranchised yesterday and forced to make today work, fix the broken sign-up system. What else I learned from yesterday's meeting? Tara, Monica, and Joel have proven that they are not only traitors to this country, but that they also want Mexicans to continue to live in squalor by denying the tools that can ensure they have working sewage hookups. What privilege Monica displayed by suggesting that harsh words against Mexico and their pollution are unwarranted. That's easy to say far away from IB where people have been getting sick. I'm here in Imperial Beach right now, breathing in more toxins. Are you going to fund my medical bills, Monica? Just like you, Mexico has never cared about Americans dying early from their sewage. Until Mexico follows their treaty obligations and minute orders, Mexico deserves no nice words or friendly actions for their 90 years of environmental terrorism. And Monica, there was a video of you answering a question from Living Grove resident Ken King about the coming sleeping shacks. In that short answer, you told many lies. Lie one, you were not by yourself at the gymnasium in Lemon Grove, and there's no evidence that anybody lunged at you. There were deputies and an army of county staffers present. Lie two, Lemon Grove Mayor Allison Snow said this project was a low-barrier program, a.k.a. people don't have to be sober. The county's never said this was a sober living facility like you personally claimed. Staff recently claimed drugs will not be allowed inside the facility, but gave no details on prevention. Lie 3, in Lemon Grove, county staffers said there would be 76 cabins, but then on May 20th, they said it was now 60 cabins serving 140 people a year. Which is it? Lie 4, people part of the county system means these cabins will be full of homeless people from all over the county. Nobody from Lemon Grove is guaranteed a room. Lie 5, it's not an opinion that Lemon Grove residents are against this rush project being dumped into their community without their consent. Residents are for real solutions, not the county's dangerous wins their points model. Thank you. Have a good day. Think about health.
Thank you, and we'll go to our final speaker.
Good afternoon. This is Peggy Walker. Yesterday, it was disappointing to see Fallbrook thrown under the bus with the vote to dismantle the beloved Fallbrook ball field. With 100 years of tradition, this should have been open to greater discussion because some things are just more important than development dollars. Another example of this board's dictatorial approach to land use is your disregard of adamant opposition to marijuana commercialization by planning groups like Fallbrook, as was mentioned earlier. Fallbrook vehemently supports EIR, alternative number 1, no program, no pot. This preference is echoed again and again by many planning groups, yet the people's voice is continually ignored. In EIR presentations and discussions, the county gives no heed to problems experienced in other locales like odor and the toxic pesticides and other harms voiced in planning group opposition. I urge you to reconsider. Stephen Malenga is a senior fellow at the renowned Manhattan Institute think tank for economic success. He wrote in a Wall Street Journal article that governments have a long history of subsidizing bad economic development projects like social equity programs. He finds top businesses poor land use investment because of failure against an indomitable black market. He particularly points to failure among social equity entrepreneurs meant to be helped, yet who suffer the highest adverse economic outcomes from marijuana expansion. The same happens in their minority communities that suffer the highest adverse health outcomes from marijuana expansion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. We now turn to items on the consent calendar. So that's, oh, apologies. We didn't do the minutes yet? Okay. So
They're for the approval of the statement of proceeding minutes for the County of San Diego's Housing Authority meeting of March 12th, 2025.
okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second?
And we'll do, and we'll be doing a voice vote for this item. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Montgomery-Stepp.
Yes.
Supervisor Desmond.
Yes.
Tenant Commissioner Barry.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors and tenant commissioners who are present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda items 1 through 2 and HA1 for today's meeting. All items on the consent agenda are routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Would any of my colleagues like to pull any items for discussion? Supervisor Anderson?
Not this time, thank you.
Supervisor Montgomery-Stepp?
No items to pull. Move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Desmond?
No items to pull, no comments. I'll second the motion.
Okay, and I have nothing to pull, so we will now turn to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 7 total requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 3 individuals in person, and 4 requesting to speak via phone. For any individuals that requested to speak on the items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. Also, when speaking, please identify which items on the consent agenda you are speaking about. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Michael Brando.
My person uses the name Audra. As much as I can talk about, that's on consent. So with the housing, it's like, it'll be interesting to find out how many illegal aliens you gave housing to over the people in the community that are still suffering. But hey, you know, keep doing it and more funding will be cut. And then I would like to say, Kimberly, you're reminiscent of Dr. Kinsey. And so I don't know if you've run a Kinsey Institute. It feels like it because that's like what the Polinsky Center is seemingly being. And so I'm wondering with these species, if we're going to be doing the things that we do to kids, and why not, right? I mean, because it's so fantastic to sexualize children, and there is this thing called like child gratification syndrome, right? And that's like, just having orgasms like Dr. Kinsey would do, right? Seeing how many, do you do that with your children? I don't know. But, and then saying like rape, what? Yeah. Is that?
It's your first warning because you need to talk to us. Thank you.
There we go. So, yes, because child rape, they say it benefits children, right? So that's good. I wonder if we could do that to the animals. Might as well get the most use out of our money because we like to exploit people and, just do really nefarious things. So I figure, these animals could be really good test subjects. right? I mean, just like children are. Let's see, you could change their sex and be like, I don't know, like what gender do you want to be? Maybe they even want to be humans, and we can just transition them in that way as well, because that would be kind of cool. Maybe do some kind of like chimera, like half, you know, like along the lines of Baphomet. You know what I mean? It's like, might as well. I mean, we already had the spirits come out in this room because that glass fell, but that's nothing, you know. And it does smell like sulfur up here, but hey. What else can we do? Because, you know, and I don't know who you would go have sex with these animals, but I'm sure any of you would be willing, Kimberly, because you like to do those experiments. It'll be interesting to see.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Michael, I want to begin by thanking you for having this 2 p.m. political matinee. I do want to add, though, I didn't appreciate the meeting starting 10 minutes late, just like I didn't appreciate, even though I watched from home, the 30-minute break yesterday for lunch turned into 45 minutes. It's actually disrespectful to people, disrespectful to everyone in this region. You know, we talk about habitat, so this item has to do with preserving species and creating good habitats. You know, again, I always bring these kinds of things up, Monica, about the hypocrisy here, how on the one hand here we're talking about conservation of species, but on the other hand here, Tara, we're always often talking about ripping babies apart. I got to meet one of my good friends' baby this week, not yet 3 months old. Beautiful, beautiful embodied soul. And yet, whenever we come here, we often hear things like, this is reproductive health care. This is access to reproductive health care. What does this have to do with habitat? Because the things that go on here directly and negatively affect the habitat, the living environment that people, humans, have in this region. Now, those of us in the know that you actually have no power over that. So while you pretend that you're doing things for the animals, I'm going to ask you to take a deeper look at your consciousness and your conscience. Because the only way habitats for animals and animals themselves and babies and humans are going to blossom and be healthy is when we start telling the truth. And as I always say, how good can it get? Thank you.
Thank you. And not seeing Caesar in the chamber, we will move to the callers. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Consuelo here. So, yeah, amen, Michael. How good can it get? So let's be honest, these consent calendar items may seem benign, but they're not. They represent yet another brick laid in the foundation of the UN Agenda 21, using words like sustainability, equity, and conservation to mask what's actually happening top-down. Top-down control over land use, public space, and private property. Item 1, nearly $2 million for an outdoor classroom in a canyon known for its scorching heat. What kind of education experience is that exactly? This project is was identified as a need in 2021. 2 virtual workshops, 2022, and nothing since. So now we're funding visions without public consensus, as usual. Item 2, a feel-good report on multiple species conservation program. But where's the measurable impact? What species? What benefit? Or is it just another cleverly worded document to further tighten restrictions on how land can be used, especially by private citizens? Item 3, the Housing Authority budget. This is like, how dare this be shoved into consent vote? Housing in this county is a mess. Your programs haven't solved anything. They've only bloated bureaucracy, burdened property owners, and weaponized zoning laws against the individual. You push ADUs and massive structures into residential neighborhoods, stripping away privacy and property rights, all while pretending to care about the housing crisis. And, you know,
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Good one, Consuelo. 1.9 million for an outdoor classroom in an area with high temperatures. Maybe something indoors would be better, like the cars, which do have the luck to get covered parking. Might save on legal, by the way, when someone keels over from heat stroke. I see that the need was identified, maybe in a dream, in 2021. 2 public workshops were held virtually in 2022. Any since then? 2, conservation. It's nice to conserve species which are apparently being killed off, like evolution tends to do to bad experiments, and it would be nice to know what the actual benefit was, as well as whether it is a new species or something else, like an extra eye or a tooth or color. And what about the living species on Artesian Road? Those poor horses deserve something better. And AJ1, how dare those housing people ask for budget approval before the final? And this is not a routine item and should not be on the consent calendar. No budget should be. Particularly, the housing budget has been wasteful. It has not alleviated the housing shortages nearly enough. Should be audited. This also serves to diminish individual property rights, such as enforcing placement of ADUs and hulking structures on private land. And it's a kind of pad the pockets program. High rent, long waiting lists, misery. You should have listened to our ideas for cheap housing.
Thank you. Your time is up, and not seeing any callers in the queue. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp and a second by Supervisor Jim Desmond. Please call the vote.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson. Aye. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Yes.
Supervisor Desmond.
Yes.
And Tenant Commissioner Barry.
Yes.
Thank you. And that motion passes. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, in regards to consent items 1 and 2 and Housing Authority item 1, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors and tenant commissioners who are present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. We now begin with our discussion items. We'll take item 3 from our land use agenda, then continue with items 22 and 23 from yesterday. We begin with the discussion item 3, notice public hearing and confirmation of levies for mosquito vector and disease control benefit assessment. We begin with public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 7 total requests to speak, 3 individuals in person, 4 requesting to speak via phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any individuals that request to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. Again, as your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it's your turn to speak at the podium. You have 2 minutes to address the board. If you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record. Again, I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Michael Brando.
My person uses the name Audra, so how cool is it to have people pay for their own poisoning? Smart, right? I mean, why would anybody else want to pay for it? It's like, let's get them to pay for it. And then if they don't and can't afford it, we'll take their home. It's a win-win situation, right? I mean, especially it's good because you guys are so good at pulling wool over people's eyes. And that way you don't tell them it's dangerous. You know what I mean? You're just like, this is just to get rid of mosquitoes. It's not also to get rid of you, right? Just like fluoride is good for your teeth, right? And your brain. It helps because it dissolves your brain basically literally. And then like all of the vaccines we give kids, we tell them it's good for them, right? We just inject them with like all of these poisons. Like these people sit there and, you know, put ingredients together that say like toxic to the human body. It's like they find everything in there that could possibly be toxic and be like, let's inject it into the people and make them feel really good. And then call, just like Michael said, you know, healthcare, reproductive healthcare by ripping babies apart limb by limb. Oh my gosh, it's like we should add that to doing that to the species and seeing like how long they live afterwards, because that's tests that are done on babies as well. And then like, you know, telling people that viruses exist. I mean, good thing like people like Dr. Young are put in prison, right, for trying to give people natural healing options. Isn't that smart? It's great the way this world works. It's so inverted, and it's just really like telling, you know, to people. But most people don't pay attention, just like you guys aren't. It's good. That's why it's fun, right? You get paid to sit up there and do nothing but kill people and enjoy it. Put on chapstick. Joel, is that what you're doing, or are you picking your teeth? Who knows? He's eating something. Be careful, because they probably told you it's healthy and it's not. But I'm not trying to let the cat out of the bag too early. You know, we got to really depopulate. So good for you guys for lying to the people all the time.
Michael, this is something I'd like to look more into, because as you know, Audra was saying, so much of what is said here, and I'm sure it includes this item too, that when something's being done, the exact opposite effect is actually happening. And you know, as we're talking about people paying to have mosquitoes sprayed so they don't cause disease, you know, that has a whole built-in narrative to it. A lot of assumptions being made, and of course, I'm sure that it's being promoted as science with a capital S, dollar sign for the S in science. And it's too bad that people are still willing to pay for their own demise. It's almost as if, like in regard to this item, people will continue to participate and participate and participate until they reach the bottom rung. And Monica, like you said yesterday, there's a lot coming, so the bottom rung is well on its way for more people. And this is not a threat, it's just an observation about what I see and hear around in San Diego County. People are getting to the bottom rung, and they're getting to the last straw. And it wouldn't be surprising if people came to visit your doorstep. I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it sounds like people are growing more and more irritated when they find out where these decisions are being made. So again, course correct. How good can it get? All of this can be very different. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from those that requested to speak via phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted, and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller. Consuelo, you're our first caller. You may have your device muted.
Yep, it was. Thank you. Okay, Consuelo here. Amen, Michael, Audra. Let's call it what it is, a fee for being poisoned. You continue to approve chemical spraying operations across our county, even near elementary schools and child care centers, despite hundreds of legal claims and health warnings. And now you want us to pay for it? There are countless natural ways to deter mosquitoes, essential oils like citronella and eucalyptus, standing water elimination, plants like lavender and marigolds. A simple online search will give you a better answer than the toxic solutions you continue to use. But you're not interested in safe. You're not natural or community-based approaches, because the real goal isn't health. It's profit through illness. The chemicals aren't just killing mosquitoes. They're weakening our immune systems. They're disrupting hormones and seeding future cancers. You're degrading our environment and contributing to the same broken healthcare system you pretend to be protecting us from. And let's not forget people like Bill Gates have said out loud in public TED Talks that controlling mosquitoes is a method of population control. Don't take my word for it. Go watch the video. You're helping roll out a program that leads to long-term sickness and suffering. And now you're disguising it under a line item in our property tax bills. This isn't about our safety or science. This is about control. It's about weakening communities. You're funding decline, not protection. And people are waking up faster than you think. We don't need poison. We need truth, transparency, and respect for nature and for the human health, for our bodies. Done. So pissed.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Great speeches, Audra and Michael and Consuelo. I only hope they listen to us. So the general idea is charging us for poisoning us. I mean, you know, after hundreds of legal claims and cases against Roundup, I mean, you're still having county workers sprayed yards from an elementary school kids center and all over the county. So why should we trust the stuff that you spray to kill mosquitoes as harmless? And then, you know, you totally disrespect the people of this county with your toxic stuff. I mean, you still use lead in aviation fuel. God knows what you're spraying us with. I mean, and stuff you use to put out fires is probably very toxic. I mean, you know, and you poison the water with fluoride and all sorts of stuff at, you know, high levels, not just normal levels. You go for high levels, make sure it kills everything probably, including a lot of babies and all that stuff too. I mean, where does it stop? You know, I mean, do you actually respect the people of this county, or do you respect the people who manufacture this stuff, the jerks who interpret the law or don't interpret the exceptions so that the poisoning continues? I mean, it's ridiculous. When will it stop? Anyway, I'm...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hey, it's Truth. I have to talk about health again, of course. So it says the proposed single-family rate is going to be $12.36, which is a $1.60 increase from last year. We got to keep paying more to be poisoned. It's wonderful. And then approximately 71% of the costs are fixed, such as salary and benefits and retirement. Wow, people getting paid real good to spray this toxic stuff. And it's funny because you guys always say it's not toxic, but it takes 2 seconds. Now, here's one of the, I'm going to call it chemicals or larvicide sprays called Natural G30. Safety data sheet right from the county's website. Right at the top, it says acute toxicity and inhalation category 4. And it has a pictogram and it has a little exclamation point. It says signal word, warning, harmful if inhaled. That's just one. Anyone can look up the other ones. There's, what is it called? Vectomax, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, they got rid of one from a couple years ago. Something must have happened. And it's funny because it says the proposed rate reflects expansion of community outreach and engagement. And it's just when, because nobody knows about this toxic program. Unless you live close enough to see the flying helicopters with the little guns on them, you don't even know that this exists unless you're participating in one of these meetings. And then it says the actual increased cost will be due to approved labor negotiations reflected in future rates. So it basically means purple shirts and more toxins purchased, and it's actually kind of the same thing when you think about it. So I'm just going to say, in the toxic program, save the county money, save people's health, and speaking of health, by the way, I'm going to be talking about you guys tonight in Imperial Beach about how you guys don't care about health. This is just one of the examples, but you know exactly which example I'm going to be talking about. I can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Rumor, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, apologies. Thank you very much. Do any of my colleagues have any comments for discussion?
Move approval.
We have a motion for approval by Supervisor, motion a second, please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Rumor, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on to item 22 from Tuesday, we do need to do a report out from closed session. Do we have any items to report?
Yes. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session on June 4th, 2025 from 9:11 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. and from 12:17 p.m. to 2:07 p.m. All 4 board members were present. IHSS items 1A and 1B were continued. The board took no reportable actions. End of report.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on item number 22, County of San Diego 2025 tax and revenue anticipation. I'd like to hand it over Ryan do you have brief comments on this item?
I do, Vice Chair. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Tyler Lawson-Rumor, members of the board, item 22 requests authorization of the issuance of the county's 2025 tax and revenue anticipation notes. Cost estimates are provided as part of the resolution, and these estimates aggregate principal amount not to exceed $200 million, and an annual borrowing cost of 3.6% with payments due in full in June 2026, but plan to be set aside incrementally. The actual borrowing cost will be determined at the time the county sells its 2025 tax and revenue anticipation notes by competitive bid. The recommendation before your board today is to approve the documents to execute this temporary borrowing transaction. Subject to your questions, this includes my comments.
Okay, thank you. We'll begin with public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Rumor. We have 5 total requests to speak, 3 individuals in person, and 2 requesting to speak by phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any individual that requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. Again, as your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Michael Brando.
Again, Cesar is not here. 2 minutes. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Yesterday it was down to a minute, so just, winning today. Anywho, so tax and revenue anticipation. It's interesting what we do with the people's money. $200 million. That's pretty cool. What are you guys going to do with it? You gonna rack it with it? Who's gonna, throw bids in? Is it gonna go into Tara's bucket? Tara, is that gonna add to your 13 million that you got in other buckets? Who knows? Where is this money gonna go? Is it gonna go to abuse more children? Probably, right? I mean, good thing we pay taxes. People think it's for the roads and stuff. It's not. It's actually to traffic human beings. If they only knew, right? But then when they know, then you can't keep doing it because then people are going to be really upset. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they want to be trafficked. Do you want to be trafficked, Ryan? No? Okay. Well, I don't know. It might be fun. Some people enjoy it, right? They think children enjoy it. And it's like, no, Jim, they don't? It seems to, that's what people think. They seem to think they like to be sexually abused as well, that they like to go to the Polinsky Center, right? Maybe we're going to fund more of that. Actually, it could be to fund more pedophiles. I bet they're real expensive, depending on what kind of things they do. I don't know if it's depending on if they really like to do sadistic things, are those more expensive? I don't know. Where do you guys find these people? In your backyard? In your family? Who knows, right? I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that I'm saying these things, but it's true, right? Doesn't it suck when the truth comes in and bites you in the ass? I know. Dang it. And when is she going to shut up? Who knows? You guys are probably going to put a hit on me. Too bad Gonzalez didn't get rid of me, right? Dang it. You should blame him for not doing his job right.
Michael, so as this discussion about tax and revenue anticipation notes, tax and revenue, it's really interesting that this kind of thing of funding this operation goes on when some of the basic services cannot be met, and even basic decorum. And what do I mean by that? One thing is, like when Tara yesterday disrespected the people here, there were people that were given warnings and then other people that weren't. This is disenfranchisement. There was a woman here speaking during the budget hearing, and she got a round of applause, and it just went on and on. And this particular person actually talked about demonizing people, calling people that they have white privilege, and that's something that Tara Lawson-Remer and Monica spin to divide and conquer people. Why do I tie all this with this? Because again, this whole process of funding these operations, and in this regard, these anticipation notes, really are about disrespecting people. Monica, I see you rocking in the chair over there. More disrespect. And like, it's the earlier caller today, which I want to research this, outlined 5 lies that Monica is alleged to have said. Again, all of this lying, deception going on while trying to fund these operations. Claudia just walked in. There's a post about Claudia on Audra's Instagram account about her being involved in abuse, fraud, and racketeering. That's something else that people should look into. Again, in spite of all of this, I'm going to say it again, how good can it get? Because all of this is going to turn around. Thank you.
We will now hear from those that have requested to speak via phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted, and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Anticipation. There's a song, isn't there? Don't know what revenue you're anticipating. Taxes. People are waking up to all your scams, deferred maintenance, and all that. So we're unlikely to give you money beyond taxes. With all the tariff, visa, and deportation stuff, tourism is down. The state and feds are debt-ridden and basically broke, and what I've seen are going for broker. And there's interest that's going to be owed on this stuff, and I'm not sure if you can afford it or get it. And since you decided to resist the new order and insist on being a sanctuary city, money is likely to be withheld or clawed back. It all goes back to the budget. I do not think that you really know the ins and outs of how to save money. Your parents probably should have taught you better. Thanks, by the way, for granting us 2 minutes to speak on this. But that's another example of your changing your mind. I mean, this very morning, you said we'd get 1 minute to speak on the closed session stuff because it was still part of yesterday's meeting. But these are part of yesterday's meeting, but thank you. I'm glad we got 2 minutes, but, you know, it's crazy. And I don't know, maybe it's all that excess fluoride in the water that's getting to you or something.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. June, my colleagues have any comments?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I understand the mechanics of this action, and this is a cash flow issue. Money comes in at different times and money goes out at different times. But I'm not going to be supporting the item today. This item, we're taking out a $200 million loan with a projected $5.4 million interest cost for 1 year. And I get we're doing this so that we can save money on our pension obligations, and it's saving us a lot of money. But it's been 12 years since the county has had to do this in the past, and I'd like to see the county in a better fiscal position where we don't need to borrow money from outside entities, even short-term for cash. So I'm told we're likely going to have to do this again next year. And to me, this is what our reserves are for, to be a shock absorber for cash flow. So I think it'd be more beneficial to borrow from ourselves, since we know it's a cash flow issue, and pay back ourselves in a timely manner. So for the future, I'd like to ask that our CEO and fiscal staff to look for ways to leverage cash on hand and look at considering other borrowing resources, especially from in-house, to save on this $5.4 million cost, because it's probably going to cost that again next year. There's $10 million, but for these short-term loans. And also, potentially take a look at the liability side and see what we can do to reduce costs to put us in a better position for cash on hand where we don't have to go outside to borrow. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm happy to move staff recommendation.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all their supervisors being present voting aye.
Okay, we now move on to discussion item number 23, approval of the delivery and execution of related financing documents for the refunding certificates of participation of the County Operations Center, Series 2025. Ryan.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Item 23 requests authorization to prepay the county's lease obligations with respect to the bonds which refunded the County Operations Center financing in 2016 and result in full redemption of these bonds, which produce annual cash flow savings estimated at $13 million and overall savings of $6.6 million. Thereafter, with the delivery of this refunding, the county's lease obligations will continue to be secured by a lease of portions of the County of Operations Center property as an underlying asset through a lease agreement between the county and the San Diego County Capital Asset Leasing Corporation, or SanCal. The recommendation before your board today is to approve the documents to execute this refunding transaction. Subject to your questions, this concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you. We will begin with public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 7 requests to speak, 3 in person and 4 coming via phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. Again, for the phone callers, if you have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using those instructions that were provided to you. We will now begin with the in-person speakers. Again, as your name is called, please come forward, stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. And I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Caesar, and Michael Brando.
My person uses the name Audra. I'm wondering if this is a refund of children that weren't able to be sexually abused for some reason. Right? It's like you guys are like, why does she always keep saying this on every item? I know. Right? I mean, maybe if you guys did something about the sexual abuse. Instead of hire pedophiles and then have children be sent there, and then we have Claudia who defends them, right? It's good. It's good. But yeah, it's going to be continually said and brought up on every single item until you guys do something about the children suffering in San Diego County instead of looking down, smug, and complicit. Because then it makes me go, do your children deserve to be sexually abused? Seems like it, because then I guess it would be a dire need to stop it, right? But until then, it doesn't matter because it's not your child, because you don't see it, right? Right. It's interesting being a victim and having people just do the same stuff that's been happening. Let's bury it under the rug. Let's pretend like this doesn't exist. Be interesting for a child to come up who here and actually address you guys and see what your reaction would be. Because it'd be like that little 5-year-old girl that's raped, and you just say, well, let's give the pedophile criminal defense, right? And make sure the abuse continues. Man, I can't imagine like being in your guys' heads going like, we love children to be abused. We love it. We love it when they're bent over and raped over and over. Right, Jim? Does it suck to hear about? It sucks to happen. So until you guys are willing to do something about it, quit making faces and do something. Because it shouldn't have to be your grandchild for you to do something. It's absurd. It's evil.
Michael, this item says that it may need to enter into long-term obligations to acquire or construct capital assets to meet the service needs of the region. So this gets all into the minutia of the financing of everything that goes on here and what needs to be done possibly in the next few years. But I'm going to go back to my same themes as well, is how can all of this financing of an operation go on when what is supposed to be happening is health and well-being, things that you always talk about are supposed to be occurring here and being encouraged here by this board. And yet the board itself is consistently involved in disrespecting the public, arriving late to meetings, starting meetings late, telling lies apparently, like Monica is alleged to have the other night, 5 lies that the caller on non-agenda earlier said. And this actually aids and abets the destruction of what's going on here. And when we talk about finances too, Claudia, all the ARPA funds, you know, that were received by the county, just like other counties, were blown, went through. And yet things are continuing, at least in the exterior, to get worse and worse. You know what? But I'm always going to go back to my perspective that even all this going on, it really doesn't matter. Anything that you say or don't say, Claudia, really doesn't matter, because we as individual souls have the capacity to create beauty in our world, regardless of these operations that go on here. Again, I'll end it with, how good can it get? Thank you.
We'll now hear from those that request to speak via phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Consuelo here. Okay, here we go again. Another financial shell game dressed up in polished bureaucratic language. This isn't about fiscal responsibility. This is about hiding the ongoing financial recklessness behind another layer of certificates and bond jargon the public barely understands. You're using these instruments to push the county further into the illusion of solving things, while our basic needs remain unmet. Our future sold off in pieces. The more efficient you claim to be, the more disconnected this county becomes from the people you're supposed to serve. You say this is just refinancing, but we know it's also a rebranding of debt. And who benefits? Not the people, not our crumbling infrastructure, not the neighborhoods ignored year after year. What we're witnessing here is a continuation of a system engineered to self-serve. This isn't stewardship, it's self-preservation, and it's exactly why trust in government is eroding day by day. Day after day, we see it. We remember, and we will not be silent. We will keep showing up. So unless you guys change your ways, this is what you're going to get. How good can it get? Done.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
sellable. So you'd rather lease or maybe sell unnamed county land or facilities to a private vendor. I mean, I agree with Jim. You know, what are reserves for? I mean, why are you selling off all your assets? Take from the reserves. You know, it's not a complicated math problem. The county seems to value money more than facilities running under its control, having to permission to do this or that. You know, that's not what a county should be about. It's not what a county should be doing. And about all the changes to the agenda at the last minute, these last-minute changes to the speaking order have got to stop. If you need, put what you might do in the agenda, not wait until a meeting or 5 p.m. to announce it, which confuses the hell out of everyone. I'm glad you announced it by email, though. Of course, you messed up still. You messed up the order of speaking and left out the closed session on the request to speak. So, you know, you're even confusing your own staff. Probably the fluoride. And I'd look into those fancy hydrogen water fountains you put in the hall. Also get tested. And, you know, I agree. It's an issue of trust right now. I mean, you know, pretty much everything you're touching, you seem to mess up. And, I mean...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Gambler here. Did you miss me? Well, the reason why they allow kids to get raped, and matter of fact, even in the juvenile system, apparently, aren't you guys getting sued for that? Is because they turned a blind eye to people doing bad items as long as they're willing to commit voter fraud to keep them in office or keep their projects going. The reason why we're selling off our products is because, you know, we don't have the federal government money anymore. We need to keep these guys happy in order for them to stay in office. See, I went through and gave you a detailed list on how to go ahead and do it. If you want me to go into further detail on each specific thing, I'm more than happy to go ahead and do that in 2 weeks. Every single step of the way, full detail, let every single person know exactly how to commit voter fraud. This would go ahead and make sure that I violate that law. Make it my bitch. So, and then if you guys want to continue to ignore it, by all means, you could go ahead and violate Election Law 18501. By all means. See, I'm not doing this in order to go ahead and make fraud happen. I'm doing this in order to stop fraud. I'm willing to go to court over that. You guys could go ahead and cover this shit up as long as possible and how much you want. But now, since I went ahead and gave a detailed list on how to do it, if anyone does it, you're the one held responsible. I don't care if you're not working here. You're still held responsible. Cynthia is held responsible. Sean Baum is held responsible. From this point forward, especially if you go ahead and certify this next election, you guys are going to be held responsible if this took place.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you very much. Any comments by any of my colleagues? Okay, I'm happy to make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, we now continue non-agenda public comment.
We have completed non-agenda public comment, so we are good there.
Okay, no more. Then I think that concludes everything before the board.
Sure
so thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.
next regular meeting of the board will take place on June 9th at 5 p.m.